All right, everyone. I woke up this morning and another war has broken out. Israel and Palestine duking it out at the moment. It appears that it was part of a large Hamas operation originally called Al-Aqsa Storm, or that's the moniker that they're giving it. Armed individuals crossing over from Gaza, attacking targets near Gaza in Israel, firing rockets as far as Tel Aviv, actually. So a significant number of them. Over 2,000 counted by Israeli sources. Uh, the Hamas members firing them, they're saying 5,000, so it's somewhere within that ballpark. So we haven't seen an attack like this in a long time, like almost living memory. There have been plenty of dust-ups between Hamas and the IDF over the years, but this is a significant operation. Also, they're claiming that they've taken some Israelis hostage. Whether that's true or not, or whether that's just bluster, remains to be seen. At last count, several hundred Israelis injured, several dozen dead. There's no word on the number of casualties in Gaza or in Palestine at large, of course, because you're not going to get it from the Western media, number one, even if you had a source, and the source is Hamas. So, they might not do a head count of the lost soldiers, so to speak, quite so quickly. I've made my views about Israel v. Palestine clear for a number of years, which is that I don't quite understand why people can't normalize in the region. And it's not just Israel and Palestine, it's Syria and all of these other places. This general spot in the world has been a flashpoint for conflict now for thousands of years. Unfortunately, I don't really see it getting any better. In the past, of course, it was about trade routes. It's an important trading area. You've got the convergence of trade from Africa, Asia, and Europe in this general region from Turkey on down through the Levant into the Sinai. And so it's been a hotbed of violence since antiquity. Now you've got energy, you've got pipelines and so forth and movement of people, movement of goods still. You've still got a large amount of trade volume in the region, and so people fight a lot. And Hamas is effectively saying, well, we're retaliating for violence by settlers. So Israeli settlers, especially in the West Bank, that's been an issue for a long time as well as the desecration of the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Of course, Al-Aqsa and the Dome of the Rock in general have been they've been well, not attacked, but they've been occupied briefly by Israeli protesters a number of times in the last couple of years. The problem is that three different religions find that particular location to be highly sacred. So Islam says this is the place where Muhammad ascended, and the Al-Aqsa Mosque and the Dome of the Rock are there. The Israelis say this is where the Temple of Solomon was, and according to some of them, someday will be rebuilt. Christians, of course, consider it an interesting place as well. For their own purposes, again, they think that nearby Jesus was buried and or ascended. It depends on the Christian tradition a little bit. There are several different locations, but you've got the tomb of Jesus in proximity, etc. The problem is when multiple major world religions share a specific site that they all want to occupy, and you've got people living in relatively crowded situation that don't necessarily get along for partisan reasons. Typically, what's going to happen is that government and extrajudicial forces are going to seize upon that. It's sort of like IDPOL within the United States. What does the government do? It tries to get people to dislike or distrust one another for voting or fiscal purposes based on their gender, the color of their skin, things like that. If you, though, have an enclave of people who, by and large, are Islamic, and they claim their own separate statehood, so the Palestinians, with the governing authority there, Israel, which is largely Jewish, uh, naturally there are going to be problems, and that's what we've seen for quite some time. These are the most significant attacks in many years. I would note on the U.S. foreign policy side. Under Trump, you got the Abraham Accords. Under Joe Biden, you get this sort of bullshit. It's sort of a doppelganger of Ukraine, and the fighting could continue for some time. It's not clear that it's going to calm right back down. If Hamas has been storing up rockets for a significant period of time, apparently catching the Israelis with their pants down in this particular barrage, there'd be no reason for them to immediately stop. They're trying to make a socio-political point. The Israeli forces, meanwhile, will begin bombarding Gaza Strip and attacking things there. And while they will claim that they're very strategic and surgical in the way that they conduct their business, anytime that you're dropping a major explosive in an area that's almost as densely populated as downtown Manhattan, you're probably going to get civilian casualties. Things will calm down at some point, probably. Of course, at any given moment, you could end up with another intifada, I suppose. And then, sometime later, there'll be some basic negotiations, a kind of sort of ceasefire that's immediately broken by one side or the other, or possibly both, and then rinse and repeat. Because now you've got more dead people on both sides of that fucking border, and now you've got more people that are aggrieved, and they want to join Hamas or they want to join the IDF. That's been going on now since most people here weren't even alive. I find it rather sad, and sometimes people ask me, well, Sticks, are you Team Israel or Team Palestine? Do you believe in the right of the Palestinians to exist peacefully or the right of the Israelis to exist peacefully? It seems that a lot of people are locked into that mentality where they think it's sort of an either or. I condemn the settlements that Israel is conducting. Sometimes third-party institutions are the ones doing so. They make absolutely no sense. They're certainly not helpful. And I think that if somebody has set up a shack and has been living there for 50 years, they should be left alone. That's number one. Hamas are not nice people. They're not freedom fighters, as some people would claim that they are. When they fire their unguided rockets into Israel, they're trying to kill a Jew. It doesn't really matter to them whether it's an IDF member or not. And so it could be, some 12-year-old kid. I wouldn't be surprised if there are a dozen dead kids on both sides of the border right now. I think they're all messed up. I think they're both mental. I condemn them both. I'm pro-America. As far as Israel and Palestine, no. Israel is not the only democracy in the region and the shining light of the Levant. That's some religious revisionism that mainly comes from Zionistic neocons. Likewise, Palestine, while there are legitimate grievances there, when Hamas is randomly attacking civilians, it's a little bit different from a surgical operation now, isn't it? In my opinion, both governing authorities can go to hell. And I'm tired of seeing people in the United States dream up this weird. It's almost like a projection of the two-party mentality for the Levant. You're either Team Jew or you're Team Palestinian. No thanks. I'm Team. Why don't you leave each other alone for a while? Can we go like 5 years without some major conflict erupting in the Middle East? Is it really necessary? I mean, Hamas clearly isn't going to actually destroy Israel. Israel doesn't have the diplomatic chops in order to eliminate all of Hamas because they'd have to overrun all of the Gaza Strip and the West Bank in the process. There is no solution. And these people book on the fact that there's no solution in order to perpetuate their political hegemony within the region. Rather sad. So yeah, another at least a conflict, if not an outright war, has broken out between the Israelis and the Palestinians. We've never seen that happen before. That's about all. Peace out.